So Bitcoin is currently hovering around $64,000 as the Strait of Hormuz is closed again. Or is it? In today's video, we'll be talking about what is going on, how this impacts the overall crypto market, and we'll also be going through the overall trajectory that I have for the rest of this bear market. If you enjoy the content, as always, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into it. So, we just got some news now that Iran's Speaker of Parliament released a statement after Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz saying that the era of one-sided deals is over. We told you, keep your word or pay the price. Reality is knocking. Meanwhile, just minutes ago, the Strait of Hormuz is supposedly now open to all vessels seeking to lawfully transit the international waterway. Now, this comes from the U.S. Central Command Twitter account. What are we meant to believe? Guys, at the end of the day, you have to remember that all these things tend to be priced in. Remember when the war started breaking out, Bitcoin was actually holding relatively well. Then, when we have some kind of peace deal negotiations or a memorandum of understanding, that's when Bitcoin all of a sudden starts dumping. So a lot of the times these things are priced into the market. And based on how I've been trading the market, it simply doesn't make that much sense to pay attention to these kinds of things. Now, of course, it's important to be informed, but when it comes to taking swing trades in the market, I do not pay attention really to what's going on the news. Right now, you can see that I am still in my big Bitcoin long, which is currently up just over $80,000. Now, I think that the likely scenario for Bitcoin over the course of this bear market, the continuation of the bear market, is something along these lines. Please remember, this doesn't have to be depicted perfectly, but I just want to give you a broad example as to what I'm looking at. Right now, you can see that Bitcoin has had this dump. We've been talking about this dump since the 200-day moving average was hit after creating that low at the beginning of the year. I think that this relief rally for Bitcoin, that what we're seeing right now, can continue. That's why I am still in my existing Bitcoin long. So if we go on the lower time frames here, you can see that Bitcoin is currently hovering above its 200-week moving average and above its anchored VWAP from the previous pivot low set at the beginning of June. We did experience a little bit of rejection at two critical zones. Number one, we have the value area high from this range that we've been in since the beginning of June. But number two, it also coincides with the value area low of this entire range that Bitcoin has basically been in since the beginning of the year. A lot of people are tuning out of the crypto market, which we've talked about in my previous videos. I'm telling you, right now is not the time to give up on crypto, because even after this relief rally, I think there will be an opportunity to likely buy some more Bitcoin at lower valuations to springboard into the next bull market. We are almost there. And if I can give you guys a trajectory, I think it will look something like this. This won't be perfect, but this is currently my base case for Bitcoin. I think that we can continue here. Perhaps we get a sweep of these highs at around $65,000, which happens to be my next take profit zone on Bitcoin that I shared within my community, and then we get a potential rejection. We discussed the fact that this could be looking like a simulation, and the reason we say this is because if you take a look at the 2018 scenario, you'll notice that in the 2018 bear market, just to give you another quick recap, we swept these lows at the beginning of the year, had a relief rally into summer, and then we ended up dropping further. I think that the extent of this relief rally can take us up to that 200-day moving average, which is this blue line on the chart. I don't think it's unrealistic for Bitcoin to get that move. But if we look a little bit more closely, the thing that you want to pay attention to is that we had two green weekly candles in a row, followed by one red weekly candle, and then expansion to the upside before dropping further. So if this is to repeat perfectly, and so far it's been pretty damn spot on, it would mean that next week, perhaps the weekly candle for Bitcoin ends up being red before popping up further. So I've depicted this in this chart. Again, guys, please don't take this to the bank, but this is just a general idea, and I thought it could be interesting to share this with you in my video. I think we pop up, likely come back lower, chop around to form those bear market lows, and then we're off to the races. Now, keep in mind, if everyone thinks that this will happen, it probably won't happen. And on the channel, we've been talking about the fact that when Bitcoin goes sub $60,000, it's a good accumulation zone. It's a good starting zone, in my opinion, of course. So right now, we're currently holding above the 2024 value area high on the higher time frames. This is the weekly chart, of course, and I think that we will likely tap into these levels after potential continuation into a relief rally. So I'm going to look to play the market that's right in front of me. I'm currently still in 4 active big swing trade positions. Number 1, I have my Bitcoin long, which was of course shared within my community. I also have my Bitcoin short that I entered at around $81,500, and I also have a massive Bitcoin short from higher, just below $80,000, that I'm looking to compound into for the actual bear market lows. Now, my strategy, how I've been trading this market, has been shorting every single relief rally. When people get excited, I enter Bitcoin shorts. Some of you don't like that. It offends you for some reason to be shorting Bitcoin. But as traders, you want to make money in both directions. And by the way, guys, all of these trades are shared within my community. If you want to join my community, we have a new option for you down below. We also added Kraken as an option to be able to join. And what I mean by this is it's quite simple. All you need to do is trade on any of these platforms down below, make them your go-to trading platform, and you get access to my free Telegram community. That's the reason why I call it free, because you're ultimately trading with your own money. Just wanted to reiterate that. So we have Bluffin, Weeks, 2bit, BTCC, and Kraken now as options to be able to join. Make sure to DM me the keyword CBM on Telegram and you'll be able to join that group. Just click the first link in the description down below. I look forward to guiding you guys along the way. The reason I have this group is because it allows me to share with you my exact entries on my trades, but also my overall market analysis in terms of how I'm investing in this market from a spot portfolio perspective. And if ever I'm not posting a YouTube video, well, I update my community first and foremost. More recently, I've been sitting in these big swing trades, but there will be some movements this week for sure. So make sure to join if you haven't already. The next thing I want to share with you is the fact that we know that there's tons of liquidity in both directions for Bitcoin. This is why I think we can continue some choppy upside despite the news that we're getting with the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe we get a dump at the beginning of this week if the 2018 scenario is to play out, but ultimately I am still gunning for higher for Bitcoin. We have on the 1-day time frame relatively even local liquidity. On the 7-day time frame, we technically do have more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market. And on the 30-day time frame, you can see that now longs have started to jump in a little bit more. 90-day, we are completely even. And on the 180-day, the thing that you must pay attention to is that there is still a lot of cumulative short leverage in the market. So my base case, or I should say where I would be willing to add to my existing Bitcoin long, because remember, we've been talking about this for quite some time, how hitting into that 2024 value area low region would be a great long setup for Bitcoin. If we hit 59 to 60K, I will consider adding to my swing long. And the reason is simple. Not only do we have that liquidity to the downside, but we also have the fact that now that Bitcoin is getting 2 weekly green candles in a row, it's highly likely that people become overly bullish. Then we get that little drop, and then perhaps we pop up into the next weeks, forming that new local high of a relief rally before Bitcoin likely drops later into the year. And then we go ahead and pop up to kick off the next bull market. If Bitcoin hits that region as well, it coincides with 2 major zones. One, critical support of this current range, which has been going on since the beginning of June. This is not a range that you want to ignore. And 2, it is also the value area low from this range as well. So when you have lots of liquidity and a zone like this, to me, it makes sense to look for a potential longing opportunity from around that zone if we are to get it from a swing trading perspective. Some of you are scalp traders and you like to jump in and out of positions. I am more of a swing trader where I trade with a little bit more size and I hold my positions to get most of those profits on big moves. Now, the reason why this is interesting at the value area low, if we are to even tap into that region, is because this is the same thing that actually happened in our previous relief rally for Bitcoin, where we pumped all the way up to around $82,000 to $83,000. If we take the range up to the extent of the relief rally, you'll notice that Bitcoin swept a pretty pivotal level before getting that big move to the upside, and that was the value area low. So we know that the value area low can provide some pretty strong support when we're in this ranging environment to the upside. And the reason I call it a ranging environment to the upside is because in bear market relief rallies, the relief rallies are quite ugly. We've discussed this at length before, but if you're new to trading, you have to understand that when we're in this kind of market where Bitcoin is still structurally in a bear market, we can get these relief rallies, but they are not pretty. You'll notice here, even though we had a pretty significant move from November all the way into February, which was a 20% rally for Bitcoin, 21% plus, it was very choppy to the upside. And the same thing actually happened here. If we take the low at the beginning of the year to where we were just in May, we had almost a 40% relief rally. So it was choppy. We had a nice relief rally, but in half the time, we dumped aggressively afterwards. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're willing to trade this market, first and foremost, you should be in the community. But if you're just looking to invest in Bitcoin and you've been following me for quite some time, the longer term analysis has been sound in the sense of, yes, we dropped below $60,000 and that was a good accumulation zone. Do I think after this relief rally we will likely go further? The answer is probably yes. Another reason why I think this is because Bitcoin's drawdown from all-time high merely hit 50%. And so we need to take that into account because historically we've dropped significantly more, even though we do see diminishing drawdown. My point is, as an investor, you don't really need to stress out that much. I think that it was a good zone to start DCAing into Bitcoin sub 60K, but I do think we can go lower. And this is where I would be looking to really go aggressive into my Bitcoin accumulation. So let's see how the price action develops. At the end of the day, I am a trader. I make most of my money trading this market. And so I think that we could be seeing a potential pullback into the new week, and then we go ahead and have continuation to the upside before likely dropping further. Please remember, guys, I am not a fortune teller. Despite how much confidence I may sound like I speak with, you have to understand that I'm just playing the market cycles, and as a swing trader, it makes sense to pay attention to these key levels. This 200-day moving average is going to be critical for Bitcoin to get past if we can even rally up to that region. Remember, because they are moving averages and price remains below those levels, the moving averages continue to drop. And so there could be a scenario here where maybe Bitcoin just goes ahead and chops around here. We grab some upside liquidity, we grab some downside liquidity, and if we are to make this move, by the time that move is made, perhaps this 200-day moving average has already trended down to just above $70,000 rather than being all the way up at just below $74,000, which is interesting because it coincides with these tariff capitulation lows that we established all the way back in April of 2025. Tomorrow, I will be doing a nice long live stream to go over some market structure, to look for some potential trades in the market. Remember, my summer schedule is as such. If you want to follow me in the community, see how I've been actively trading this market, you have all the links in the description down below. And that's a wrap for today's video. I guess the last thing I should say is if you take a look at the Coinbase Premium Index, although this still isn't green, this is positive in the sense of we're getting less and less selling pressure. So I think that we could see some choppy momentum to the upside, perhaps a pullback this week where I may look to add to my existing long, and I will maintain all of my bigger shorts in this market as we wait to see how this price action develops. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. As always, I'll see you in the next video.